Well, hello and thanks for joining us again. We're nearing the end of the year, and of course that means we'll have to wait a few months before the Milky Way galactic core returns to our evening skies. So the question is often asked, what else is there to shoot in the night sky at this time of year? We certainly do get bedazzled by the beauty of the Milky Way core, and I'll admit I spend most of my time composing my nightscapes around its positioning relative to the landscape. Today, I want to show you a few images I've taken that don't include the Milky Way core and give you an insight into my mindset as well as the motivation I had while taking them. Okay, so here we are. This is a great example of an opportunity taken with no Milky Way core. One night, it was quite cold and dark, foggy. I was here near this old brick church. It's a beautiful subject. I've shot here a few times before, but on this particular occasion there was no Milky Way core in the sky, but it was very foggy and there's a lot of cars and trucks going across this road down the back here. And what I noticed was that every time a car came up from the easterly side, I was getting this amazing glow behind the church because of the headlights in the fog. So on this particular occasion I set up a 24mm lens at about f2.8 and set the camera low down to the ground there and waited for the next truck to come along. And as it did, it lit up the building and it made this awesome glow. I've actually nicknamed it Spooky Church because you can actually see the light coming through the windows of the church. And it's a great example of what I'm talking about. No Milky Way to be seen in the shot, and yet this beautiful building looks fantastic. Plenty of subjects look absolutely fantastic under a starry night sky without the Milky Way core as a centerpiece. We just need to look outside the box for something different. One of the interesting things about all of this is that we tend to get very narrow-minded when shooting nightscapes. At least for me, the focus is nearly always on the Milky Way core, and that's not always a good thing. Now, just recently I was discussing this very topic with a friend of mine, and I guess that's what prompted me to make this video. But you know, I've been to this place many times before and I've shot it, and usually it's been with the Milky Way core overhead because it makes a great foreground subject for that. But you know, there's plenty of times of the year where either the Milky Way core isn't in the right spot to get a composition, or it's just not there at all. And that, of course, is what we're talking about today. So I think it's important that we take our blinkers off and we look at this and we say, well, you know, all year round, this is still a fantastic opportunity for a nightscape image. So here we are on the road again. I'm looking for a few more subjects that I've shot before that don't include the Milky Way core as a background subject matter. And so I'm excited to show you, and let's go and have a look. Now I have to admit that when I decided to shoot at this location, my intention was to include the galactic core behind this old dead tree behind me. But you know, sometimes fate steps in and plans change. So what happened was I'd come along here previously and worked out using my PhotoPills app that the Milky Way core was going to rise directly behind this old dead tree, which would have looked absolutely fantastic. So I came out here, planned the time and the date, came out here, parked the car, got my camera here ready. I was using a Sigma 35mm Art Series lens through this fence, and what happened was clouds came across. Everything clouded out. And then, of course, I thought to myself, well, I'll just wait and see what happens, because my cloud predictor had said that it was going to be clear for the night. Anyway, as happens, clouds came in and they did not clear. So I was just about ready to go home when the moon began to rise. It was probably about about a 40% moon rose in the east. So this is after full moon. It was rising in the eastern sky, and it came up behind the tree. And it looks absolutely awesome. And I thought to myself, the clouds were lighting up. The cars going past on the road here were lighting up the tree with the car headlights. And so I ended up with this tremendous shot of a moonrise behind the old dead tree. Not what I was after initially, but it worked out just fine. Of course, during the summer here in Australia, we don't have a choice about shooting the Milky Way Core because it's not there at all. If you look over in that paddock over there, you'll see a group of dead trees which became the subject of another night adventure about a year or so ago. So if in doubt about what to shoot when the core is gone for the year, then why not go for star trails? They're possible at any time of the year and always a source of great enjoyment for the Nightscape shooter. I'll often take the opportunity to shoot star trails because it gives me a chance to sit back and relax while the camera does all the work. And depending on how long you shoot for, you might even fit in a quiet nap and even a good old cuppa. Another great candidate for night shooting is our friendly neighbour, the moon. Every month, it makes its way into our night skies and can even become the centre of attention when all the heavenly bodies line up in a row for us. Now, while we're talking about this subject, I'd like to introduce a little spontaneity to the discussion. Okay, well, you're probably wondering why I've stopped here in this country laneway and there's nothing but paddocks all around. Well, back in August of 2015, this was the site for one of the most magnificent displays of Aurora that I have ever seen. So where I live in central Victoria in Australia in the Southern Hemisphere, the auroras are not very common. And if they do occur, they tend to be very, very low on the southern horizon. Now, on one night, back in August of 2015, I happened to be coming to this general location to shoot some nightscapes anyway. Now, the Milky Way was visible in the sky that night, but on the way to this location, in the car, my phone started beeping, and it was actually an Aurora alert telling me that something was happening. So I immediately stopped the car. It was very dark, no moon in the sky. Got out, just down the road from here, about five minutes from here, and had a look at my app, and it said, yes, it was a very high chance of Aurora happening right now. I got outside of the car, had a look, and instantly I could see the shimmering curtains of light in the sky to the south. So I quickly made my way to this spot right here, and this is where I was intending to come anyway. And as I drove around the corner down there, I realised that this road, this dirt track, which is out here on this farm track, was heading straight into the centre of the Aurora. So I spent probably 2 or 3 hours out here under the stars that night shooting the Aurora down towards the south. Now, interestingly enough, the Milky Way Core was actually in the sky over in the southwest that night, and I hardly paid it any attention. Why? Because I had this magnificent sight in front of me, which is very rare for me in these parts of the world. So I remember on one occasion, about halfway through the Aurora show, I happened to see some very, very bright lights coming up in that wheat paddock over there, probably facing about southwest. And I thought, well, is that a car? Is it a truck? Is it a tractor? What is it? It's nearly midnight at this stage. And then I thought to myself, hang on, there's no roads, there's nothing over there. It was actually a couple of proton arcs, which are very, very rare, and things that you see when the Aurora is very, very strong. And as you can see from these images, the proton arcs were just beautiful, magnificent pillars of light in the sky. So, as we think about what to shoot during the next few months, let's not waste the opportunity to get out there and enjoy whatever the night sky has to offer. You'll most likely be very pleased with the results. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll look forward to catching up with you next time.